This is a video on the isometric sketching exercise number 2 with Ms. Valent, and I'm going to just again show the creating method just to build the watch. Okay, so same deal with this one. We start with a much smaller Y. I place the position of the Y in the location in my space where I know I'm going to need extra space over to my right, because I'm making this point my Y in my drawing. So there's my Y, and so I need a lot more space over to the right. I could even bring it further over depending on how big I make this. Okay, so I'm just making a Y now. I need to extend that out, remembering to make all my lines parallel, so I'm extending these out to both sides, and I'm going to create the flat base. Again, this is a sketch and I can go over it with an outline later. I need to make this quite long, so let's be a bit more generous with the length here and use that space. This one I'm going to take to the edge of the page. Okay, so about there. Now I'm going to do the top face, so I like to square off my ends with some verticals, and then this one's got to be kind of in line here with that one, so coming back this way, and just double checking all the time that when I do a line it's about parallel to the others. This one's a little bit too flat, so I'm just going to make that the right angle. Okay, so now I've got my boxed in overall shape. I'm going to start putting in some detail. So you can see here I've got the middle face. I need to identify where the middle of this is. Okay, so I'm going to put the middle, and I'm going to keep that a square. So I need to, when I do my first line, how I do this is I basically drop a point straight down, and that's going to be the point at which I come across on the other side. So that will mean that this is essentially, if I was looking at it straight on and an orthogonal view, that would be a square. And that's important because I want my watch face to be a round, not like an ellipse or an oval. Okay, so once I've got my face and I know that that's like a diamond shape, okay, I can start putting in some other details. So here we've got, you know, it's actually telling us to break up this diamond with a few lines, so I'll do that as per the instruction, and take that down on the side because we're going to separate that out, and that's actually going to be skinnier later on. Now I need to do my oval on that face. Okay, so on that face, again, I've got my points. I've got my obtuse angle, and I can do a large arc across there, and from there to there I can do a large arc from there to there. Okay, now here I'm going to push in. I don't want to connect it straight down. That's going to end up leaving me with something that's not very isometric circly. So I need to push that into that corner and push that into the corner in there as well. Okay, so I end up with a isometric circle on that face. All right, now the next step here is adding some information for the straps. Okay, so I'm going to divide this down a little bit. So I need to do a couple of lines that divide this down a little bit. Okay, and from there, okay, I can do my in and outs. So it's given me, like, it's cut it into a few points. What I'm going to do is I'm going to identify 3 points across here. So 1, 2, 3, and I need to shape my in cut around those points. So it's not an easy thing because it's kind of skinny. Okay, making sure my angles are right. So there's my in cuts around those points. So this one seems to be slightly skinnier than the other side. So yeah, that one. Probably need to have made it fatter. And I can adjust that out. And do that shortly. So 1, 2, 3. Make it around these points, those in cuts. Yeah, the fatter one, the wider band looks a little bit more correct. Okay, so once I find myself an eraser, I can fix another one. There we go. Found one. Okay. Alright. So wider band and making sure both of those line up so it doesn't look uneven. So bringing that through, that would actually be about there. So making nice and wide. Now I'm going to identify those points again. So middle here, like 3 points, and I'm going to shape my in cuts around those. Okay. Didn't space that as well as I thought I did. Okay. Alright, so at this point, okay, I'm still just in my sketching phase, and I can go over this with an outline later to make it look better. Alright, now after that, we're going to start giving it thickness. So giving things thickness means really just we're going to do a series of verticals off our front face. So I'm going to drop down here, and drop down, and drop down, and we'll be able to see the shape starting to emerge, okay, as we drop down pieces. Here I probably could drop down this edge that's tangent, and I'm starting to get a shape that looks a little similar. So this is going to, if I look at this, it's going to touch right there, so I need to create that curve that touches there, and I'm going to expand this out like that. Okay, and I need to make that thickness there, and I'm going to add that thickness there. Okay, so I've started giving myself like a more solid shape. Okay, you can see that just goes in at those corners as well. All right, now as you progress, you need to create that second circle. Now it's really important when you get to this point to understand that that second circle is actually at the top edge here, and we're going to actually form it at the top edge of this face. Okay, and there's a bigger gap at the bottom than there is at the top. That's probably the most important part of doing that, to give it that sense of depth. So I'm going to create a smaller circle inside that one. As soon as I start going away from my rule of boxing things in, things start looking wrong. Okay. And then you want to start putting in more details. We're going to put in the fillet around here. We'll put in the watch hands, and you can put in some little dots for time. Okay, now I'd go over this with an outline and erase out any of those lines that I didn't want. Okay, so that's it. That's sketching the watch in isometric.